Hey, you ready to come do some more PeopleSoft development? Come watch me. If you haven't been following along, I've been building this SQL and PeopleCode tracing tool. It's a tool that's going to make it easier to turn on and off the trace, as well as hopefully get to the files eventually. So far, we've just kind of gotten the framework working and we've been building the page out. And so today I'd like to go ahead and drop the SQL in, drop the PeopleCode in to make it actually turn on and off the trace. So we'll see how far we get today. So let me just go ahead and jump right in. Maybe let's start with a review. So I'm going to jump down here to my PIA window and I need to log in here. So if I come and go to the classic home, might be the easiest way to get to this. We can build maybe a tile at some point later, but for right now, this is under Digital Legal Services, Tools, Trace Tool. There we go. So that's where I dropped it. I've got my two buttons here. So this is supposed to be the trace that goes on and off. And so that just right now just says hello world on both of them. Okay. So let's go back into our app designer window here. And I need to take this little window off. There we go. And we need to open up our project. So project, let's see. I think I called it something like that. There we go. Okay, so there's my project open. And the nice part about what we did before, you'll have to go back and catch up a previous episode. We wired it up so everything would go through this application package. So now that just makes it super easy. So in here, I can do my set trace PC, and I went back over to my blog, and my favorite number here is this 3596. You can see other places where what all the different numbers mean, but I'm gonna stick with this 3596. So let's come back in here and we're gonna put in the 3596. So that will turn it on. What did I do? Set, I've missed a T, didn't I? There we go. Set trace PC. All right, and then the SQL trace, set trace SQL. And if I pop back down onto my resource, I like 3 is my option. So it basically just does the SQL statements and the statement variables are the two things. So that'll give me the information I need. So back in App Designer, let's call this 3, I think is what we said. So this is just gonna turn it on at this point. So before we can test it out, I need to run over here and I'm gonna connect into my, let's see here, SSH. So this will connect into my server here. Go to the people's, there we go. That's a little bit better. App server, and let's see here, and I go into the logs as, there we go. So if I look for a file that says that I have one trace file, so I'm going to go ahead and delete this trace file. So that way you can see it happen. So no PeopleSoft trace files. So let's go back down here to the PIA and go back in, and I'm going to turn on the trace. Okay. So here is the cool part right here. Notice it didn't display the win message, so I'm pretty sure it worked. We can go in and check our terminal here. Okay. So if I do that, I have a file. That was not the file that I expected, but you can see that it works. So maybe if let's go back down to Mr. Pia here, and we'll test that trace. So actually, I just clicked this button just now, so I should see the PeopleCode that did our set trace. So if I go back into my terminal, and if you're not familiar with VI, this E key refreshes the file. And that is interesting. Huh. Here we go. Okay. So if I look right here, this set trace, here's where you can see the people code happen. And then I can also come down here and you can see right here is where it ran a SQL. It shows the SQL that ran on the page. So now I've got both running. So here's our big issue though. So let's get out of this file. The big challenge is, how do I turn it off? So I think, let's double check in here. So I'm gonna hop down in here to development tools. We'll go into the reference by letter and our set trace in here. So I'm kind of doing this all as I go, so that way you're just kind of working with me, and I haven't done a ton of prep work. I only have so much time to put into this, so we're just gonna, so what if we just do set trace PC? There's a set trace SQL. So down here, here's what I found. Trace settings. And if I check out this, where did it go? Session class. Trace settings class. Okay, so here we go. So I believe we can take a look at, this is it right here. Okay, so I want the trace each statement. So I'm going to take a look at this thing. So if we come back in here to app designer, we can determine if the trace is on. Why don't I just do this? Method is PeopleCode trace on, and I don't need, but I am going to return a boolean. There we go. So drop this down here at the end. If session dot, oh, now I forgot it. Okay, so session class these, and it was trace settings. Okay, so we want trace settings dot, and then go back to this trace settings. It was, can I copy it? Copy, paste this guy in here. No, not so much stuff. There we go. Okay, so if that is true, then we're gonna assume, I could check all the values, but for now we're gonna just assume that is true. And we're going to say return true. That means it's on. Otherwise, return false. And end if, end the method. Okay. So now I can say up here, if this dot is PeopleCode trace on, then we want to turn it off. Trace PC 0 turns it off, else okay, what did we do here? Oh, it would help if I put a thing right there. Okay, so now I should be able to do the same thing. So if I come back over here to my people books, and on the SQL statement is the one that I like. So I'm gonna check this SQL statement. So we'll do the same thing here. We'll say method is SQL statement on, returns boolean, and then we need our method down here. Is SQL statement on. You know what I forgot? I like to at least keep it consistent. It's tough to decide whether I want the capital at the beginning or not. I feel like one is the Java way to do it and the other is the Visual Basic, and PeopleCode is kind of in the middle. Okay, so this is the one we said. Get rid of this extra stuff we copied. Okay, return true if that is on, else return false. Okay, so there's my method. So now if I come up here, I can say if the SQL statement is on. Oh, you know, I don't like that. I'm going to change that name. For this, we want to set SQL to 0. All right. And since you're along with me for the ride, we're gonna change this name. Is SQL Trace on? Is the way we're gonna go with this. And I might go with lowercase SQL like that. Okay. So we want it right here, and we want it right here, and this should save. Okay. There we go. So if I come back over here to the PIA and we check this out, now if I click this, it should turn the PeopleCode trace off, and click this, it should turn the SQL trace off. And the only way I can do this, let's just do a new window here, and we should go nowhere is a good place to go. How about we just go to job data, since we're in HR for now. So that technically should have generated a decent amount of SQL tracing. So you should see it doing all kinds of tracing stuff if the trace was still on. So while it's thinking here, let's check this out. If I go to the end of the file, hit :E, it's got some stuff in here. It's hard to tell. So here it turned, you can tell it turned the set trace PeopleCode is off. Well, move this closer so I can see it better. All right, so set trace PeopleCode. So it did trigger that. So from this point, technically speaking, I shouldn't have any PeopleCode tracing in here. So we can be extra sure, and we can just delete this trace file, and I'll delete this other. I don't know if I want to delete that or not. Yeah, maybe I will. It's a... Okay, so if I search for that, no files. So let's go back over to the PIA just to make double sure. So I'll switch between some things here. Maybe we'll change a value. This should at least, yep. Correct history. And actually, if I return to search and go back in, that should have run some PeopleCode. So we should have something if it was going to work. And it'll, oh, it didn't even create a file. I was afraid it might create a file with just a couple of debug things in it, but it didn't even do that. So I think we've got it turning on and off. Now, I'm not sure how much time I've burned, but I'm going to try one more little thing here. So What I would like to do, we go back at the PIA and look in here. If I refresh this page, there's no way for me to tell whether or not the PeopleCode trace is on or off. You know, it'd be nice without me having to go into the terminal. So what I'd like to do is change that image, okay? So if I look back in App Designer, you'll remember I have 4 different images here, a PeopleCode trace on and off. So let's check out PeopleBooks here. And I think I can look, if I remember correctly, in the field class. Let's see what properties we have here. Okay, so we've got this label image. So I should be able to set the image for my label to the correct image, and so I could visually display whether or not the trace is on or not. So let's give that a shot. Label image is the thing. So what I need to do is I need to, let's see here. So you can see my App Designer now. So we can set the button images here. We'll just do a little method like that. Okay. And I need to get access to this. So let's open up this page here just so we can see what's going on the page. If I pull the order down, and we can slide this down here so we can see it as we work. All right. These are at level 0. So if I pull this out, you can see the level. They're at level 0. So I should just be able to say get field. You know what? Let's just go through the whole. What happened to my shift home? Okay. Let's start at level 0. So it shouldn't matter where this is going to run from. And then I want the SQL Trace work. SQL Trace push button, and then I can use that property that we just looked up, and I want to set it to this image, this one up here, SKP PC trace on push button. Okay, so that works. Let's just test this out. So if I come up here and in the pre-build, we'll just call this method here. Okay, so back in the PIA, if we switch over here so we can see the PIA, if I refresh my page, oh dear. Okay, assumed property SQK. All right, so that would help if I spelled it right. You guys were probably telling me and I didn't hear it. AP. I ought to know my own prefix here. Okay, so back in the PIA, let's try it again. There we go. It is super hard to see because the image is so small, but you know what I'm gonna do? And we'll make this permanent, possibly in the next episode. But let's do, just curious if I can do this, if we do 50 pixels. Still think that's too, but you can at least see the red on it. I would really like that to be a lot bigger. And it's not controlling my height. That's not doing it. There it is right there. That. So I need to get rid of this max height property, and that would probably change it. So we'll have to mess with that later, but at least you can see it. So before it was gray. So let's go ahead, and we need to make this actually work with the correct one. So let's do let's see if we can do it this way. I copy that. You know what? Let's copy this whole thing right here. Drop this right here. Paste this here and here. And then if it's not on, we want it to be off. Okay. And then while we're at it, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for the SQL Trace button. So this button is SQL, same thing. And then this one should be SQL. And we just need to change this to off. Now, the problem is, I think, we can go back over to Pia, but I believe my button is broken. Yeah, so this one isn't quite right. So I'm going to fix that real quick because I think I just did it wrong. So let me do a new image. And now I gotta find my image. And I want the PNG version, I believe. And it's the SQL Trace off. So that looks a little bit better. So let's save this as SKP SQL Trace off. There we go. Okay. It already exists, so yes, replace it. Now I don't have to insert it into my project because it's already there. Even though this is a new version, it all goes off the name. So one more thing I just forgot. Actually, let's go back over to Pia. I'll show you this working. Okay, so now you can see the red went off of it. So now let's come back in here, and we need, after we push the button, we need this to update the images. And let's refresh the page. I didn't really have to do that, but I just wanted to oh no, it should have gone red. If I refresh the page, does it actually update? So this one's updating, the other one's not. Alright, I guess let's see if we can figure out what's going on. We can get rid of this guy. Okay. Update button images. Oh, I put it in the wrong place. That's what I did. Okay. So this needs to go in the toggle methods. Okay, so now I got it for the PeopleCode Trace toggle and the SQL Trace toggle, and we can get rid of this guy. Okay, save it. We'll go back into the Pia. So now when I click it, look at that. It's turning. Uh-oh, that one didn't turn red. But that one did. Okay. So I'm refreshing the page. It makes me wonder if I got... Okay. So if the SQL statement is on, and this is the SQL Trace button, I don't see anything wrong with that. There's got to be an issue here somewhere. trace settings. So the question is it not detecting or... So maybe we just... So let's just print this out. And then down here, you know what? This is what I wanted here. Really, I want this line. That's the one that I intended to go. Now I still don't think that's gonna fix it, but that was the original intention. So that's fixed. Let's put another... So let's say is SQL on, and we can drop this guy in there. And then we can say the actual image that we ended up with. Okay. So there's two debug messages. Let's jump back over to the PIA. And if I click our button here, it says false. It is not on, but the SQL Trace says true. That is not the on button. Okay, so if I click it again, so that should mean that it's actually on at the moment. And so now the SQL Trace is off. And so we're getting the off push button. So I think the on and off is working correctly. It's off, now it's on, now it's on. So it is currently on. Okay, so that means that our field is not correct, but it is correct. Let's check our, so this is off and this is on. So the images look correct. So I'm pretty confused on why. Images are correct. We're getting the correct images set there. Goodness, I don't understand why it's not working. The PeopleCode works fine, it's just this one doesn't. I got the wrong one. Okay, PeopleCode Trace off. I don't have a mouse over or disabled button here. It's set to large image. You know what? I forgot to do this. I was planning to use CSS for this, but how about we do it like that? And then let's update this image size. The label should be same. There's, so I don't have a on mouse over or when disabled. Let's just do custom actual image size. See what that does to it. So I changed the page, so I'll for sure have to reset it. That did not change my button sizes. So that one works. True. Okay, so that's the way it should look if it's off. It's on there. Alright, I am super confused as to why it's not working. So I'll have to troubleshoot that later. If you have any comments on what I did wrong, please let me know. And then maybe next time we'll work on the style sheet and get these to where they stay larger and they're the correct size, so that it looks good on the page. So at least we have it wired up and we can tell that the trace is coming on and off. So our mission is accomplished for today, and you'll have to stay tuned in the next episode as we try to make it look nicer and get things working better. I also want to get the files in there so I can actually see the trace file without having to go into the terminal like I'm doing. So we'll leave it there for today. Thanks for sticking with me. And if you have any work that you would like for me to do, please hit me up on the LinkedIn, and let's talk about how I can help you out at your PeopleSoft installation. And also keep in mind, I'm doing the training classes at SpearMC. They're just single day classes. So if you would like to check those out, please hit my link up to the training class, the training schedule. There's 2 of them that I'm doing. So I will keep you in the loop on those. And otherwise, I will catch you on the next episode. Have a great rest of your day.